Welcome. This is a review of Test 1 with the intent of showing you how to approach answering questions both on the practice test, primarily on the practice test, so that you'll be ready for live tests. I will quickly go through the questions that were on the test. All right, the first question, the standard input stream, the extraction operator reads everything but, what do we say it never read? It never read spaces, it never read white space. So I would have accepted the word white space, spaces, blanks, etc. But the term for characters that are not read is white space. All right. Now, before a program can read data from a file, what must be true? Well, first of all, the file must exist. There must be a pound include F stream. The program must, all of these must be true. You certainly know that by now. All right. Now, in this program, the plus sign is called an arithmetic operator. Operators are symbols that are used. Keywords like int and const are words that are used that have predefined meanings, but symbols represent some action called an operator. All right, suppose you had to write a program that computes pay earned by an hourly employee. You get paid by the hour. And this question is about data type. What's the appropriate data type if you're getting paid by the hour? You get paid $10.52. Is that a string, a char, int, float? It's a float, right? Now, how do you find out the repository command to determine when a program, your assignment is due? It says CS repository. Well, you were told once upon a time, and you probably didn't remember, is that there's a command that tells you what repository commands you have. It's called chelp. The moment you see chelp, it says there's two repositories, a public and a private. And it says if you look at the submission repository, which is private, there's lots of things you can do. You can do a status, you can do a due date. Oh, you can do a bunch of stuff. You can say, what's the due dates of drills, practices. There's one called CS programs. That's not listed here. So the answer to this would be CS due date. But how does CS due date work? You see the command CS due date. Do the command. The moment you do the command, it says when you say this, you got to say what assignment are you talking about. So CS due date, here's an assignment. CS due date, here's an assignment. So what's the answer? CS due date and the assignment ID. All right. Now, in this problem 6, when I first begin, total is set to 14, and this statement changes total. How does it change the total? It changes the total by subtracting 3 from the total. So the resulting total would be 11. If you want to declare a variable that will hold the amount of your tuition and fees, how would you complete the declaration? Well, you need a data type here. We saw in an earlier problem that when you're talking about money, the data type is float. Oh heck, what's problem 8? In a statement declaring a variable, the first word the student must specify is we've done about 3 of these, is the data type. Okay. Now, this is, again, a simple read. I'm reading a float followed by an integer followed by a character. So when I first start reading greater, it says pick up something that can be a float. I pick up, I hit the space or the white space here and I stop. So the first thing I've read is 1, 2, 3, 4. and that goes into variable C. Now I read variable A. What's A? It's an integer. So I start reading 4 and a 4, and I hit a period. Can I read a period? No, I stop on the 4. So the value of A is 44. All right. How can I raise a number to a power? Well, there is no operator here. I tried to trick you. There is no operator called exp. There is no operator called power. I wonder why is that? Didn't we say that operators are primarily symbols, not words? Ooh. And then there's a power function and there's a square function. And it's the power function that will raise a number to a power. Now write the statement to create a variable called GPA, and at the same time initialize its value to 3.75. Well, let's look at this part. This part. This part declares a variable called GPA. If I put a, oh shoot, oh you did that, that wasn't me. This part declares a variable. If you put a semicolon here, all you have is a variable with an unknown value. If you put an equal sign, the equal sign is an assignment operator, which means what? Assign a value to a variable. So that would accomplish putting 3.75 into the variable. What's the deal though? You need a semicolon here. If you leave a semicolon out, you get 1/2 credit. So you lose points when you don't put a semicolon. So if you see the key, if it has things in angle brackets, it means full credit. If you see something in square brackets, it means half credit. 3 divided by 2 is what? It's a 1. All right. Now here's the code, and we want to make this program work. What is missing? Remember the shell? We said in the shell of a program, you have to have these things. Pound include, and you must say using namespace standard. That's the missing part. Using namespace standard. All right. Write the statement that will display the output below. It's just a cout statement. Cout, less, and the string today, semicolon. I would have accepted your answer if you had put inlines in here. I would have given you half credit if you left off the semicolon. Problem 14. When I'm reading an input using greater, the operator, the extraction operator, what must come after the extraction operator? It must always be a v. We know 2 V's in programming. We know a program. We know a V called variable, and we also know a V called value. Must be a variable here. I would have given you credit if you had completed the word or if you had written the whole word. Either one gives you full credit. Okay. Now, in IOmanip, there's a manipulator that establishes a field width. And the field width says this is the minimum amount of space to use when you display some output. So what is the name of that manipulator? And it is set width. One of these has an error. Which line is it? Well, this looks legit. This looks legit. This looks legit. This looks legit. This looks funny. Because on the left-hand side, we said we expect a variable on the left-hand side. What we have here is an expression, isn't it? It says take the value of j, add 1 to it. The moment you do that, it's no longer a variable. So there is no variable called j plus 1. So line 5 has the error. Okay. Now let's take a look at this guy. My bad. It's a more. It's not a more. Okay. I'm trying to hurry. If we do this, we're looking at what happens when we do this arithmetic. What's going to happen? I'm going to add 14.89. I'm going to keep it at that. Plus 14.89. And that's going to give me something like 29 and some change, point 7 something. Okay? Now, so the result of this is 29.7 something. Can I store 29.7 into the variable num? Well, you got to look at the data type. Num is an integer. It cannot have a decimal place. So the only part you can store is the 29. Okay? Now, there's another way to answer this question. There's another way to answer this question. You can always just take what you have there and put